Spider-Man is so back. We finally have a bunch of awesome behind-the-scenes footage of the first few days of Tom Holland shooting Spider-Man Brand New Day, and the thing people are talking about the most is how good that suit looks on him. Now, it took a lot of trying just to get up this hill.
That's the theme song for the Jeffersons.
We had a lot of trial and error, so many that I created a amazing Spider-Man live action tier list, and we're going to go through every single one and rate them S through F. Now, this might be a little bit of a spicy debate, so be sure to make your own. I provided a link down below to the tier list that we're about to freaking do here, so let's get right into it. Be sure to like the video if you like my shirt. If you don't, I'll put some dirt in your eye. All right, I sort of put these in kind of order of appearance, but not really. More just conversation pieces, of course, having the early one first, and of course the brand spanking new one. Starting off with the one, everyone's favorite, the Raimi Suit. Now, this is the blueprint. This is the blueprint for all the live action ones leading after this. I really think it is like ripped straight from a Jack Kirby panel. It looks perfect. Obviously with the raised webs, I did enjoy the raised webs. I think my only complaint is, as a practical suit, probably not the most comfortable. It must be a little weird with those raised webbing. There's behind the scenes footage of how they would put the suit on and the webs would break. It'd be a little bit hard to maintain, but there's no doubting how amazing, no pun intended, this suit really is, with the fixed eyes. Of course, we'll get later, we'll talk a lot about eyes and other details, but this suit, it's iconic. It's the one everyone talks about. You gotta put it up in S tier. You just have to. It's the suit everyone talks about, and it'll forever be one of the greatest suits of all time. Live action, of course. Now, with the topic of the Sam Raimi suit, of course, we have to talk about the symbiote suit, which can be a bit of a controversial topic as well. The black suit is just the Raimi suit donned in black with silver webbing, which to me as a kid looked awesome. I think it looks awesome, but in recent years, a lot of behind the scenes photos have kind of leaked online, at least that I finally have seen, where they were trying to go for that classic giant white spider on the chest and on the back. Just the one that everyone knows from like the cartoon, but I guess it just didn't work for what they were trying to do practically. So they just went with a basically dyed black Raimi suit, which is awesome and it's very identifiable. Of course, I would prefer the white spider. So I think just for that, because we were so close to it, I'm not going to put it in with the Raimi suit. I think it drops a point down, so I will give it an A tier. I think it's still a great suit, iconic. When they put it in the Spider-Man 2 game, I was rocking out a bunch. So nostalgia wise, I'm gonna give it an A tier. Now you gotta dip into Spider-Man's history a little bit here. You gotta go into the homemade suits, and we have quite a few homemade suits. We'll start off with the human spider. Man, who knew Spider-Man was a worker, man? His first foray into being Spider-Man, he was a wrestler and he took on Bonesaw McGraw. Yeah. Macho Man, of course, for those who don't know. Now, when it comes to homemade suits, this is up there in another iconic one where if you were a teenager back then and you were like trying to put together a suit because you just got superpowers and you have no money, this is something you would throw on. The spider on the front looks awesome. The ski mask is again iconic, but I think of the homemade suits, it's not the best. There's a lot better ones that we'll talk about in a bit, but just for that, I'm not going to completely bury it, because again, the Raimi trilogy holds a very, very, very near and dear part of my heart. So we're gonna drop it in B tier. It's not terrible. Now, you want to talk about terrible? This is where we might get a little negative on the tier list here. Listen, as much as I love this movie, the first Amazing Spider-Man, this homemade suit is not doing it for me. It just, the mask is cool, I guess. The sunglasses are cool. That comes into play when he's building his first suit, where he's using the lenses for the sunglasses as the visors, and he's like, you know, just different aspects to help him build his suit. It was cool and all, but just as a homemade suit, again, it's realistic, I guess. If you're a teenager in New York and you're broke and you put together whatever you can for a vigilante suit, this is what you come at. But you know what? I just don't like it. It gets an A for effort, but it's going to be in D tier for me. Sorry. All right. I'm just gonna go for it. F tier. I'm sorry. I am so sorry. The Amazing Spider-Man Andrew suit, the first one, is complete garbage. Sorry. I'm sorry. I can appreciate what it's trying to do. You kind of have some Ben Reilly, maybe feeling look to it. It looks kind of cool there, but I'm very particular about my Spider-Man suit. There was no like red sort of belt to separate the torso from the legs. He just looks very like tall and weird. It's kind of reminiscent of the Man of Steel Superman suit. Again, I love Man of Steel. I love the Cavill run of Superman. But I was never like really bought into the suit because I like the red trunks, and the sort of belt that goes around Spider-Man's waist is sort of like his Superman trunk, and that's a detail I need to have in there. I never liked the spider on the front. I think the back looks okay. I think the back of the suit looks good. But in the shoes, there's too much. Talk to me about Spider-Man shoes, man. Like I'm very particular about how it looks. I need it to be all red. I know, like, there was the Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man suit in the animated series, which we're not going to cover in this, but it had some blue on the bottom of the foot that drove me crazy. That just, as you guys are watching this video, I think you'll understand that I think very differently than the normal Spider-Man fan, maybe. But if you disagree or agree with me, let me know in the comments, of course. But I just didn't like the sort of, the eyes were a little smaller for me, and then I like big eyes, and I didn't like the yellow. So it looked a little more bug-like. I'm like, okay, I can respect that, but this suit just wasn't my cup of tea, baby. But you know what is my cup of tea? The Amazing Spider-Man 2 suit, the one that came back in No Way Home, that everybody applauded for. This is probably, I think it's better than the Raimi suit. I think it's better than the Raimi suit. Bigger eyes. We just talked about eyes, like the big eyes. It kind of reminds me of Ultimate Spider-Man a little bit. You brought the belt in. You got to bring in the belt, the separation. It kind of took everything that the Raimi suit did and made it a little bit better, a little more practical. And there's still kind of raised webbing, but I feel like it looks a little more intact and cleaner. And, you know, unfortunately not the best Spider-Man movie, but god damn it, I think it's the best suit. So you know what? S tier, and yes, I'm going to do it. We're pushing the Raimi suit over. It's tremendous. Awesome. Let me know if you agreed. All right, now before we get into the MCU side of things, here's a little special request from my brother Andy. Shout out to Andrew over at Wrestling's Real. He wanted me to do the Spider-Man Broadway turn off the dark suit, which I never saw live. I know there's incidents that happen on the show. I don't even think they do it anymore. So he's like, please at least put this in your list. So you know what, for you, brother, let's take a look at it. I'm looking at it. I didn't realize how rough it was. It looks like a Spirit Halloween Sam Raimi suit. I respect the spider on the front. I think it's cool. A nice big spider. I think that's cool. Good colors, great colors. You know what I mean? Bright. That's one thing you got to also talk about with these suits is the bright colors, and you can't be afraid to have some bright red and blue. Looks great. But unfortunately, brother, I got to put this down. I understand that you may have actually designed this suit yourself, but I'm sorry. F tier. All right, now we're getting into the main event here. This is more current stuff. We're in the MCU. Of course, the very first Spider-Man appearance was in Captain America Civil War. Iconic trailer where we see him catching Cap's shield, and we see the first look of Spider-Man, and the first thing I saw, moving eyes, man. The moving eyes got me excited. I never thought they would be able to do it in live action, because in the cartoons, animated series, he was always very expressive with his eyes when he was talking to people, and they were never able to do it for years. It was always kind of the stationary eyes, and that was it. But they finally found a way to do it. It looks great. Now, of course, the Civil War suit I will also count as the Homecoming suit, and sort of the beginning of Far From Home. They are the same suit. I was kind of looking at to see if there's any differences. Not massive differences, so I will count this as one suit. Very vibrant, able to get all the elements of the Spider-Man suit you'd like, but MCU'd it up a little bit, where, you know, they give the Stark sort of makeover, all the technological stuff in there. I love this suit. I think it's great. It looks even better in Homecoming, which is arguably one of my favorite Spider-Man movies of all time. I think it's great, and it looks awesome, and I wish we had more time with it, but we are obviously moving on to better things. But that being said, I think it's a great suit. I love the colors on it. I love the spider on the back. It's very reminiscent of the fat spider that we see like in the OG suits, and that's the only really kind of fat spider we've ever really gotten, and I love that little red fat spider. It's my favorite. So for that, this gets high praise for me. So I'm bumping over the black suit, Raimi suit, putting this in A tier. It's a great suit. It is really good, but it's just a little down. Not everything can be S tier, okay? Not everything can be S tier. Now we're going on to Tom's homemade suit. Now this is, we saw like bits and pieces of it in Civil War. We saw Tony like showing his phone and him like stopping a bus or whatever, and we see it more prominently in Homecoming, where after his suit gets taken away by Tony, he goes after Vulture but uses his homemade suit again, so you get to see it in better action. I appreciate this so much. Like, this one is like, it's all the colors that he wants. You know, he has the blue and the red, has a spider on his chest, the ski mask over, and the goggles, man. The goggles are like goated. I'm sorry, that's so good. Of course, they already have the moving eyes. It shows how smart Peter is, like with how he's like developing tech of his own, and which is kind of why Tony found him, was like, oh man, like you're a smart kid, and that's why he sort of took him under his wing. And I love the story behind it, where, because he has so much going on in his head as a teenager would already, and you have spider powers that you can hear everything and these senses, and he uses the goggles to help him focus. So as for that elevates that suit for me a little more. So obviously it's not the most aesthetically pleasing suit, but it's a dope suit either way. So I think I will be putting this over the Human Spider suit. B tier is starting to become a homemade suit section. It probably won't be that for much longer, but for now, that's going to go over the Human Spider worker suit. Now we go into another sort of iconic suit in the MCU, but not my favorite. The Iron Spider suit. Obviously, it's really dope of a concept. It's a sort of like this suit he uses to go into space in Infinity War. It's offered up to him at the end of Homecoming, and he says no to it, and so it's teases that we're gonna get it back. So I always like in the comics where, you know, Spider-Man does have like event suits that are just kind of one-off suits that he wears, and so having this in Infinity War made the most sense. Of course, he's going up to space, he's like losing oxygen, and then they send up the suit and he gets whatever that is, and boom, he's like able to like go to space. He's able to survive. So I think it's cool. It's a cool suit, but like, I come from an era that had a different Iron Spider suit that was way cooler looking, in my opinion. This one has too much going on for me. I'm not a fan of the super bright eyes all the time. Like the light eyes are kind of too much for me. And I give it points for giving me the robotic arms, which was really cool when we got to see that used in No Way Home with the bridge scene with Doc Ock. Seeing, you know, you get that cool Doc Ock line, oh, we got competition, and they're both using their mechanical arms to fight each other, which was dope, really cool, but just aesthetically, it's just not my cup of tea. So I unfortunately am going to have to put that in C tier. I'm just not crazy about it, man. It's too shiny and new. I'm not into it. And then we're going to move on to one that's sort of another one-off event suit, I guess. This is his Night Monkey suit. His sort of shield stealth suit that Nick Fury gives him when they're in Europe, which when we first got like a glimpse of it in the trailers, people of course were like, oh my god, that's symbiote Spider-Man. No, it's just him in a stealth suit, and it kind of reminded me of Spider Noir a little bit. I can appreciate that a little bit, but all in all, just not a exciting suit, and kind of a dumb suit, because you're supposed to be undercover, and any bozo in the MCU world would be like, that's definitely Spider-Man. What's he doing in Europe? You know what I mean? Like, it just seemed kind of weird, and I didn't like how his fingers were exposed. Like, man, how do you? Yeah, you're gonna get his identity killed before Mysterio kills it. You know what I mean? It's like, it's an unpractical suit. It's a little goofy for me. I'm not a fan of it, but I'm not gonna bear it completely. But I'm tossing that in D tier. It's not a fan. Now, in the same film, we get this suit. This is the actual Far From Home suit, I suppose, where it's the first suit that Peter makes himself. You know, Stark is obviously gone already. We get that great scene of him and Happy on the Quinjet, you know, talking about everything, and you know, he was proud of you and all that stuff, and inspires him to make his own suit. And that's what Spider-Man does. This was the first real, like, instance of Spider-Man being Spider-Man, Peter being Peter. He always made his own suits, and this was a good, like, step forward and be like, okay, do it yourself, because everything was handed to him. He's like Harry Potter. Everything kind of just happens for him. You know, he's got to do it himself. So obviously we're getting to that point now in Brand New Day, which we'll talk about in a minute. But I think the suit is important story-wise, where it's like this is his first suit he's building himself. I think it's awesome. I think the red and black is kind of cool. It does, again, remind me a little bit of Ben Reilly a little bit. You kind of have like a darker tone with the red and the black. I think it looks really cool. It's basically it's basically the Homecoming suit, but with a little bit of black in there. We get the wingsuit for the first. The wingsuit's awesome, man. We love the wingsuit. I think it's an awesome suit. But again, I am more picky, and I need my red and blue. I'm sorry, the black looks cool, but I need my red and blue. But I'm not bearing it completely. I'm gonna put that at a nice little B tier. Yeah, right there. I like that. Top of B. Top of the B. I like it. All right, now we're moving on to No Way Home, the big Spider-Man event movie. Obviously a lot to talk about in this movie alone, and a lot of great suits showed up in this movie. We have one that sort of is connected with the suit we just talked about, the Far From Home suit. This is the Inside Out Far From Home suit, which was another thing that got me excited in the trailer. I'm like, oh cool, he's gonna have some sort of black suit we'll see what happens there. We all freeze framed that trailer. We saw the gold on it. We're like, oh, it's something to do with Doctor Strange, I'm sure. And it kind of was. You know, I like the combination of him having the little gauntlet there with the suit, but it wasn't exactly a new suit. It's just the suit turned up out inside out, which I think looks cool from far away, but when you saw it up close, it kind of looked a little weird. It looks very, if this is a real suit, it looks very uncomfortable. A lot of wires, a lot of wiring everywhere, and like just things sparking up and rods and electronics and stuff. I'm like, that must be miserable to wear. In reality, if you're actually wearing this and the MCU was real. Wait, it's not real? So I think the design looks cool and all, like black and gold always looks cool, but just again, when you kind of get close up to everything, it looks a little ridiculous and just not the coolest. But I will give it more props than the spider monkey fit, or whatever you want to call it, the night monkey suit. So I think this will be sitting with the Iron Spider suit, as it's fine. Now we're hitting you guys with the sort of finale suit in No Way Home. This is I guess you call it the integrated Doc Ock suit. It's when he gets the tech back off of Doc Ock and for some reason turns half of his suit gold. This is one I can kind of appreciate. It almost sort of reminds me of the Insomniac Spider-Man suit in certain ways. Big sort of white spider, except gold in this case, and consumes more of the suit. I appreciate this as a sort of event suit. Obviously it's a one-off thing because, which we'll talk about in a minute, we have a brand new suit. So I appreciated it for what it was. It made it a little easier to identify him when you had, you know, 3 Spider-Men like tackling Sandman and Goblin and all these other workers. So I think for what it is, it looks cool. Mask looks cool. I appreciate it. It's like I look at it as a special event Spider-Man suit. I think it's cool. I really appreciate it. So I think I will put it in with the B crew. It's not my favorite. Again, I like my more traditional colors. The gold kind of brings the points down a little bit, so it's B. It's fine. It's not terrible. Hey guys, let me take a second to thank today's sponsor of today's video, Into the AM, a clothing company that prides itself on its awesome designs that help show off your inner nerd and provide crazy comfort. From graphic tees that actually stand out to premium basics and feel like a dream, to shorts, polos, you name it, Into the AM has you covered. They actually sent me a few of their products to try out, and I gotta say, I genuinely love how they look and how they feel. Super soft, super comfortable, and I usually hate how certain t-shirts look on me, but these really kind of form nicely to my body. No matter what your body shape, it just kind of fits well. But the best part here is you can save 10% off site-wide with our exclusive code Friggin Nerds. Just head over to the link in the description below and load up that cart and plug in Friggin Nerds at that checkout for instant savings. Style up, support the channel, save a little while you're at it, and look good doing it. Into the AM, check them out. All right, man, let's talk about that grand finale. The one y'all want to talk about. It's the brand new day suit. We have so much here. It was already sort of seen a bunch. Like, we already saw it at the end of No Way Home, obviously in the final swing. They put the suit in the Insomniac Spider-Man game, so we got even more detail of what the suit looks like. And now we have all this behind the scenes footage of Tom swinging around New York with giant trucks and explosions, and up close taking selfies with kids and stuff. And we got a amazing look at this suit from every angle. This is really, this is the one. I think this is probably the best suit. So the question is, where do you put it? Now, when No Way Home ended, you know, you see him sewing his own suit in his apartment, and he goes out and swinging around in the snow. This really was based off his adventures with Toby and Andrew, where he was hanging out with them, and he really, I'm sure, studied what their suits looked like. They have that kind of talk where they're like hanging out and just talking about villains they faced, I'm sure, just like looking at their suits. And this is a true combination of both of those suits. It really is. We have sort of better detail on, like, they had a teaser before we saw like the actual suit reveal. You saw the raised webbing. Raised webbing is back. It looks a little more long in the chest, a bit like Andrew's. You got the belt like both of them have. It's basically a version of the Raimi and the Andrew suit together. And of course, on top of that, you have the big plus of the moving eyes that we've had in the MCU. So they were able to put all three of those together. You have the web shooters, some big bar looking thing. I'm sure they'll be like different with CGI or something. But you really took both of those iconic suits and made it familiar and also making it its own. I'm not like super crazy about the spider on the front. I think it's fine. Like, the more I look at it, I'm like, it is pretty reminiscent of both those suits, Raimi and Andrew, but a little different. And I would have liked to have seen the back spider being the classic fat spider somehow, but they kind of also did the same sort of style as the Andrew and Toby suit. So I'm gonna keep saying that it is a perfect combination of those suits. So with that being said, I think for now at least, this is going to dethrone the Andrew suit. I think the Brand New Day suit might be the best live action suit we'll ever get. Now, of course, it's hard to say because all we've seen is behind the scenes stuff, so I'm sure it's going to look very different with a little bit of CGI to fix up some of the wrinkles and, of course, the eyes and everything. But just looking at it practically and seeing him interacting with people, like Tom's in the suit. Tom's over there shaking hands. He is Spider-Man. And again, with the other two suits, where of course they looked fine in live action and they were practical suits, because a lot of these suits I didn't even mention, like the Iron Spider suit. I'm sure even some aspects of the other MCU suits weren't always practical suits. They were just like CGI'd on. So this is like, they're going back to practical stuff, practical swinging, like everything is very practical here. So, but the most important step of that is to make a good looking Spider-Man suit. And I really think they did a good job here. And I'm glad they didn't like make big changes, because they could have easily just showed us that No Way Home suit at the end and then totally retconned it and gave us a whole brand new suit for Brand New Day. But no, they kept it the same detail, because I'm sure they listened to the fans of how excited they were to see it, because this is really, it's a brand new day, no pun intended. It's a brand new Spider-Man. Even though we've had Tom for a long time, it's brand new. It's starting fresh. I like to look at this as a new phase one. I know there's reports of the MCU sort of soft rebooting, and I feel like Spider-Man's the character to do it. I feel like you should start off with Spider-Man, especially with the sort of Iron Man passing the torch over to Spider-Man, you know? It's kind of like, you know, poetry where you're starting it over again, but now it's Spider-Man starting it over. You know, I mean, there's so many little aspects there. Obviously, we still have this movie, and we still have a massive Avengers event coming with Doomsday and Secret Wars and everything. But after that, start off fresh and give us more street level Spider-Man stories, and I think you're going to do a great job. Spider-Man is very near and dear to my heart, so I'm just happy that we're getting good Spider-Man stuff, because I mean, again, hasn't been terrible stuff. Like Homecoming was great, Far From Home was iffy. You know, you put my favorite villain in Mysterio, respect to that, and of course you gave us a really crazy tribute to all the past Spider-Man in No Way Home. So, but he's done too much. Shoot him into space and all this stuff. Is give him this nice simple street level movie and keep on giving us these great suits. Man, I've talked enough about Spider-Man today, so I want to hear from you guys. Of course, if you guys go down to the description below, I'm going to link this tier list. I want to see y'all's tier list. You can drop it over on our Discord, and your tier list might make it in a future video. So with that being said, webheads, Excelsior. Thank you guys for watching so much. Of course, be sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more fun videos like this. And let's talk more Spider-Man. Until next time, stay friggin' nerdy. Peace.